What would you risk for someone who can't even hear you say, "I love you"? The rain hammered against the windows of the Pearl, an upscale restaurant in Mayfair where London's elite gathered to make deals that would never see courtrooms. Dante Moretti sat in the corner booth, his signature black suit perfectly tailored, his jaw clenched as he watched his men surround the table. At 32, he was the youngest Mafia boss in London's history, and the most ruthless. People whispered his name in fear. One look from his steel-grey eyes could make grown men confess their sins. But tonight, those eyes were fixed on something, or someone, else entirely. Her name tag read Lily Chen, and she moved through the restaurant like a gentle breeze in a storm. There was something different about her. While other servers frantically rushed between tables, she moved with deliberate grace, her dark eyes focused, reading the room in a way that seemed almost supernatural. When she approached his table, she didn't flinch at the sight of him or his men. She simply smiled, pulled out a small notepad, and pointed to it expectantly. "What's this?" Dante's second-in-command, Marco, asked rudely. "Can't you speak, girl?" Lily's smile didn't falter. She pointed to her ear and shook her head gently, then made a gesture that was universally understood. She was deaf. Something shifted in Dante's chest. He raised his hand, silencing Marco immediately. Then he did something that shocked everyone at the table. He pulled out his phone, typed a message, and showed it to her. "What do you recommend?" Lily's face lit up like Christmas morning. She quickly wrote back, "The lobster risotto. Chef makes it special on rainy nights. Are you celebrating something?" Dante found himself typing again, something he never did for anyone, just surviving another day. Her response made him pause. That's worth celebrating too. Over the next 3 weeks, Dante found excuses to return to the Pearl. Each visit, he learned more about Lily through their written conversations. She was putting herself through art school, dreaming of becoming a painter. She'd been deaf since birth but never saw it as a disability, just a different way of experiencing the world. "You watch people differently," she wrote one evening. "You see what they're really saying beyond words. Bodies don't lie, Mr. Moretti." That observation sent chills down his spine. She was right. And she'd been watching him too. But danger was brewing. Viktor Kozlov, a rival Russian mob boss, had noticed Dante's frequent visits. In their world, any attachment was a weakness, and weakness meant death. One night, as Lily left work through the back alley, 2 men grabbed her. She couldn't scream for help, couldn't hear them approaching until it was too late. They dragged her toward a black van, but suddenly, gunshots split the air. Dante appeared like an avenging angel, his weapon drawn, his face twisted in rage. He took down both men with brutal efficiency. When he reached Lily, his hands were shaking as he touched her face, checking for injuries. She was terrified, not of him, but of this violent world she'd just glimpsed. She pulled away, shaking her head, tears streaming down her face. Dante pulled out his phone desperately. "I'm sorry. I'll keep you safe. Please." But Lily was already running, disappearing into the London night. For 2 weeks, Dante's empire felt like a prison. He threw himself into business, eliminating threats with even more ferocity than usual. But at night, he'd drive past Lily's apartment, making sure she was safe from the shadows. Marco finally confronted him. "Boss, this is madness. She's making you weak." Dante's gun was at Marco's throat before he finished speaking. "She makes me human. There's a difference." Meanwhile, Lily was struggling too. She tried to forget Dante, but every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face in that alley, not the violence, but the absolute terror in his eyes when he thought she was hurt. One rainy evening, she found herself back at the Pearl. She wrote a note to the hostess. "Is the man in the black suit here tonight?" He wasn't. He hadn't been back since that night. Lily took a napkin and wrote something on it, left it with the hostess. "If he comes back, please give him this." The note read, "The Tate Modern. Saturday noon. Last chance. L." Dante stood in the modern art gallery, feeling completely out of place among the peaceful viewers and vibrant paintings. Then he saw her. Lily stood in front of a massive abstract painting, all chaotic reds and blacks with a single streak of gold cutting through the darkness. She was holding a sketch pad, drawing. He approached slowly, afraid she'd run again. When she noticed him, she didn't flee. Instead, she handed him her sketch pad. She'd drawn him. But not as the monster he thought he was. In her drawing, he was a man trapped in shadows, reaching toward light. Dante's hands trembled as he pulled out his phone. I don't deserve you. My world is darkness and blood. You deserve someone who can give you peace. Lily took his phone and typed back, I've been deaf my whole life. People have always told me what I deserve, what I can't handle, what I should want. You know what I actually deserve? To make my own choices. And I choose you. But I need to know, who are you really? So Dante told her everything. Right there in the gallery, through typed messages, he confessed his sins, his empire, the blood on his hands. He expected her to run, to hate him. Instead, she wrote, I see you. Not your past, not your empire. You. The man who learned to type messages instead of speaking. Who reads people like I do. Who's terrified of losing something good because you've never had it before. That's who I see. Dante felt something he hadn't felt in 20 years. He felt tears burning in his eyes. But love in the Mafia comes with a price. Victor Kozlov declared open war. He couldn't allow Dante to have happiness. It set a dangerous precedent. If the most feared boss in London could go soft, what did that mean for their world? The attacks came fast. Dante's warehouses, his men, his operations, all under siege. And he knew what Victor really wanted, Lily. Dante made a decision that tore him apart. He went to Lily's apartment one last time. I'm sending you away, he typed. To New York. New identity. Art school there. You'll be safe. I'll always make sure you're safe, but we can't. Lily slapped the phone out of his hand. She grabbed his face with both hands, forcing him to look at her. Then she spoke, her voice raw and imperfect from years of not using it, but fierce with determination. No. You, look at me. Dante's world stopped. I choose you. We fight together. He'd never heard anything more beautiful in his entire life. The showdown happened at the abandoned docklands. Victor had kidnapped Marco, demanding Dante surrender his territory and Lily in exchange for his second-in-command's life. But Dante didn't come alone. And he didn't come to surrender. The fight was brutal. Dante fought like a man possessed, but he was outnumbered. Victor had him cornered, gun pointed at his head. Any last words, Moretti? Victor sneered. That's when Lily appeared from the shadows. She'd followed Dante, refusing to be left behind. In her hands was a flare gun from one of the boats, and she knew exactly where Victor's fuel reserves were stored. She couldn't hear Victor's threats, couldn't hear Dante screaming at her to run. She just saw the man she loved about to die, and she wasn't going to let that happen. The flare hit the fuel barrels. The explosion gave Dante's reinforcements, led by a very much alive Marco, the opening they needed to end Victor's reign forever. In the chaos of sirens and smoke, Dante found Lily. He pulled her close, and for the first time since they'd met, he didn't reach for his phone. He signed to her, awkward, clearly just learned, I love you. Lily laughed and cried at the same time. She signed back, I know. You've been saying it without words since the beginning. 6 months later, the London underworld had a new order. Dante was stepping back, letting his most trusted men take over the day-to-day operations. He was done with the violence, done with the blood. He'd built legitimate businesses and was slowly washing away his past. But today wasn't about business. Today was about forever. The wedding took place in a small art gallery that Lily had helped design, the first of many they planned to open together, giving opportunities to artists who'd been overlooked, just like she had once been. There were no traditional vows spoken. Instead, Dante and Lily stood face to face in front of 50 guests, signing their promises to each other. A translator spoke the words aloud for those who couldn't understand sign language. Dante signed, You taught me that silence isn't empty, it's full of everything that matters. You see me. You chose me. And every day for the rest of my life, I choose you. Lily signed back, You learned my language. You entered my world without fear. You showed me that love isn't about perfect words, it's about perfect understanding. Where you go, I go. Always. When they kissed, there wasn't a dry eye in the gallery, not even Marco's, though he'd deny it later. At the reception, Dante pulled Lily onto the dance floor. She couldn't hear the music, but she could feel it through the floor, through his heartbeat as he held her close. They moved together, perfectly in sync, two people who'd found their rhythm despite the chaos of the world around them. "Oi, boss," one of the old crew members called out. "What's the secret? How'd a bloke like you end up with an angel like her?" Dante looked at Lily, who was reading his lips with that beautiful smile on her face. He answered loud enough for everyone to hear. "Simple. She taught me the most important lesson in life. When someone truly sees you, really sees who you are beneath everything else, that's not weakness. That's the only strength that matters." Lily squeezed his hand 3 times, their secret code, "I love you." He squeezed back 4 times, "I love you more." And as they swayed under twinkling lights, in the silence that was theirs alone, Dante Moretti, former Mafia boss, feared by thousands, finally understood what it meant to be home. 1 year later, Lily's first gallery exhibition opened to rave reviews. The centerpiece was a massive painting titled "Look at Me," a portrait of 2 people facing each other, their hands speaking volumes, surrounded by chaos that couldn't touch them. In the corner, Dante stood with their 3-month-old daughter sleeping in his arms. She'd been born deaf, just like her mother, and Dante had never been happier. He'd already learned every children's song in sign language. As visitors admired Lily's work, one critic asked her, "What inspired this piece?" Lily smiled at Dante across the room and signed her answer, which the translator shared. "Love isn't about grand gestures or perfect words. It's about showing up. It's about learning someone's language. It's about choosing to see them, really see them, even when the whole world is looking away. This painting is my way of saying, in a world full of noise, I found someone who understood my silence. And in my silence, he found his peace." Dante walked over, their daughter still sleeping, and stood beside his wife. No words were needed. They just looked at each other, and in that look was everything, their past, their present, their forever. Because sometimes, the most powerful love stories aren't told through words at all. They're told through a look, a choice, and the courage to say, "I see you. And I'm not looking away." In silence, we found our loudest truth. Love doesn't need words when 2 hearts speak the same language.